You know, in 2 Timothy 2:15, it says, "Be diligent to present yourself approved to God as a workman who does not need to be ashamed, accurately handling the Word of God." And part of the internship is helping the man who is preparing for ministry to have a grasp of Bible knowledge, systematic theology, counseling, and apologetics. And so over the course of his internship, he works diligently to master that information. Now, let me say, as part of his process, it's essential that church leadership work with him to make sure that he's advancing as he needs to be able to pass this ordination. And so before we ever do an ordination, we want the pastor to feel confident that the man he has worked with, the man he's trained, the man he's practiced with, is fully ready for the ordination. Because when we have a man come to this point, we want him to graduate. We expect him to graduate. And so that's an essential part of what takes place. Now, there's a lot of different ways to do an ordination. We just want to explain a process that can be helpful. I mean, as a general rule, you're going to have godly men from the church involved in the ordination council. That is, they'll be the men asking the questions. Most often, those are going to be the elders of the church. Occasionally, guys will invite pastors from other churches to be involved as well. And so that will be the council, the men who will ask the various questions they'll be asked. And then once you have that established, the question is, are you going to just have the intern come before that council, or are you going to invite the church? And churches do that in many ways, but I would suggest that it's a good process to invite the congregation. You know, do it not during the Sunday service, but at a time when others can come and they can see and understand the work that goes into preparing for ministry. And I think it's a blessing to the church, and honestly, I think it's a blessing to a man to have the church participate in that process. Now, when we do the actual ordination, the objective is not to trick the intern, right? The objective is to just demonstrate the hard work he's already invested in order to pass this ordination. So we actually take him through a number of questions. We begin with Bible knowledge, and we'll ask questions on Old Testament, then we'll ask questions on New Testament. But we don't ask questions in Genesis and then look at Malachi and then back to Ruth and over to Revelation. We just start in Genesis and we progress through the Old Testament. Normally, we only have about 30 minutes to have him reveal his knowledge of his biblical knowledge, if you will. And so we'll have usually one man just ask questions on the biblical knowledge. He'll ask some themes, some outlines, some key chapters, some key verses. Let me say, when you get to key chapters and key verses, that generally we give the content of the chapter of the verses and let the man tell us where that's found, because that's normally what he's going to find in ministry, people asking him questions about certain content in the scriptures. So we normally have one man that just asks the Old Testament Bible knowledge, one man asks the New Testament Bible knowledge, and then we transition to systematic theology. And there are 8 different areas that we address in systematic theology, so we usually just rotate. Each man just take one section. Usually they can ask 2 to 3 questions from theology proper, Christology, pneumatology. In this illustration, we're not going to do a full ordination, okay? So we're just going to ask some Bible knowledge questions, some New Testament, Old Testament, and then we're going to just ask one question from some of the systematic theology, just to give you a sense of what that looks like. In an ordination, we generally would spend about an hour looking at the systematic theology. And then after that, we move to counseling and apologetics, probably about 30 minutes to do those, ask 2 or 3 questions of each of those.